A hotel cleaner answered a call in French in front of Elon Musk. The next day, he summoned her. The sound of shattering glass stopped time. Maria Alvarez watched in horror as the crystal vase 50-piece that had been imported from Venice slipped from her trembling fingers and exploded across the marble floor of the presidential suite. For 3 endless seconds, she stood frozen, the scattered reflections of light dancing across the 1,000 fragments like mocking stars. Dios mío, she whispered, her heart hammering against her ribs. This was how it would end. 12 years of perfect service at the Four Seasons San Francisco, erased by a single moment of fatigue-induced clumsiness. 12 years of cleaning up after the wealthy and powerful, of being essentially invisible until now, when she'd become visible in the worst possible way. Maria dropped to her knees, frantically gathering the larger pieces, wincing as a shard sliced her index finger. A crimson droplet fell onto the pristine white marble, and she quickly wiped it away with her uniform sleeve. The cut stung, but the pain in her finger was nothing compared to the ache spreading through her chest. She couldn't lose this job, not now, not with Anna's university transfer applications due next month, and the remaining tuition for community colleges still looming over them. The hotel room phone rang, startling her into dropping the glass fragments she'd collected. "Housekeeping, this is Maria," she answered, struggling to keep the tremor from her voice. "Maria, it's Diane from HR. Your shift ended 20 minutes ago. Is everything all right?" The concern in her supervisor's voice only heightened Maria's anxiety. "Yes, Toom, just finishing up in the presidential suite," she stammered. "I'll be down soon." "Well, don't forget to clock out this time. The system flagged you last week for staying late without overtime approval." "Of course, I'll remember." Maria hung up the phone and returned to the disaster at her feet. She'd have to report the broken vase. Hotel policy was clear on that. But perhaps if she explained that it had been precariously placed, already teetering on the edge when she arrived to clean. She shook her head, dismissing the thought. 12 years of honest work wouldn't be tarnished by a lie. Now she would tell the truth and accept whatever consequences came. 30 minutes later, with the glass safely disposed of and the accident documented in the incident log, Maria finally made her way to the employee locker room. Her shoulders ached as she pushed her cleaning cart into the service elevator. Hours into what should have been an 8-hour shift had somehow stretched into 9, and exhaustion pulled at every muscle in her body. The lines etched into her 35-year-old face had deepened over the years, but Maria wore them with a certain pride. Each wrinkle was evidence of her persistence, of the life she'd built for herself and Anna after Robert died. Each line around her eyes represented late nights helping with homework, early mornings preparing breakfast before school, and endless hours scrubbing bathrooms and changing sheets to ensure her daughter would have opportunities she never had. A fair trade, she always told herself. The elevator doors opened on the 11th floor, where she needed to collect forgotten cleaning supplies from a utility closet. The hallway stretched before her, its plush crimson carpet muffling the squeaking wheels of her cart. The corridor was empty except for a man standing outside room 142, tapping furiously at his phone. Maria recognized him immediately from the news. The distinctive profile, the slightly hunched posture as he focused on his device, Elon Musk. The hotel staff had been buzzing about his arrival since yesterday, trading whispered rumors about his purpose in San Francisco. Some said it was for meetings with potential investors. Others insisted he was here to announce a new Tesla breakthrough. Maria hadn't paid much attention to the gossip. Billionaires came and went from the Four Seasons with such regularity that their presence rarely registered as noteworthy anymore. Still, there was something about seeing him in person that gave her pause. This was a man who had changed the world several times over, whose decisions affected global economies and technological trajectories. And here he was, looking surprisingly ordinary in jeans and a simple black t-shirt, frustrated by something on his phone, just like anyone else. She kept her head down as she approached, following the unspoken rule of luxury hospitality: be invisible unless needed. The wealthy didn't want acknowledgement from the help. They wanted seamless, frictionless service that anticipated their needs without drawing attention to the human labor behind it. Maria had perfected this invisibility over the years. She moved efficiently, quietly, her uniform always pristine despite the nature of her work. She knew how to enter a room, clean it thoroughly, and leave without the guest ever feeling their privacy had been invaded. Her invisibility was her professional armor. The service phone clipped to her uniform belt rang, its shrill tone shattering the hallway's hushed atmosphere. Maria flinched at the sound, acutely aware of the disruption it caused. She glanced apologetically toward Musk, who had looked up from his device with a flash of irritation. "Housekeeping!" "This is Maria," she answered automatically, turning slightly away for privacy. A rapid stream of French came through the speaker. It was Monique from the front desk, her words tumbling over each other in stressed urgency. Maria had grown up in Montreal before moving to California. French had been her first language, and though few at work knew this about her, she'd maintained fluency through online conversation groups and French-language films she watched with Anna. It was a connection to her past, to the life she'd lived before everything changed. "Minutes," she replied fluently, explaining she'd be there in 5 minutes. She asked for details about the shower issue. Monique explained it was likely a water pressure problem, ending the call. As she lowered the phone, she became acutely aware of Elon Musk staring at her, his eyebrows raised in obvious surprise. Their eyes met briefly, his intense and calculating, hers widening in momentary panic before she nodded respectfully and attempted to hurry past him toward the service elevator. "Excuse me," his voice stopped her in her tracks. It was deeper than she'd expected, with a hint of his South African origin still detectable beneath the American accent. Maria turned slowly, clutching her cart handle for support. Her heart rate accelerated, a flutter of anxiety rising in her chest.
Had she done something wrong?
Was her phone conversation too loud? "What languages do you speak?" he asked, studying her with unexpected intensity. The question caught her off guard. Of all the things she'd anticipated him saying, this hadn't even made the list. "English, French, and Spanish, sir," she answered, striving to keep her voice steady and professional. He nodded thoughtfully. "Interesting." Then he turned back to his phone call, dismissing her presence as abruptly as he'd acknowledged it. Maria stood there for a moment, uncertain if their interaction was complete or if he might have more questions. When it became clear he'd returned fully to his phone conversation, she pushed her cart forward, her mind racing with confusion about the brief exchange. The elevator ride down to the presidential suite was a blur. Maria's thoughts kept circling back to the peculiar encounter. Why would Elon Musk care what languages a hotel housekeeper spoke? Perhaps he was simply making small talk, though something in his tone had suggested otherwise. There had been an evaluative quality to his question, as though he were cataloging information for future reference. She shook her head, dismissing the train of thought. It was meaningless, a random interaction that meant nothing. Wealthy people were often unpredictable in their interactions with staff. Some ignored you completely, while others engaged in surprising moments of curiosity or kindness. It meant nothing beyond that moment. By the time she arrived at the presidential suite, Maria had almost convinced herself the encounter was insignificant. She knocked gently on the door, announcing a housekeeping in a clear, professional tone. A middle-aged Japanese man in an impeccable suit opened the door, relief washing over his features when he saw her service cart. "Thank you for coming quickly," he said, his English precise and formal. "The shower, it is not working properly." "I'll take a look right away, sir," Maria assured him, following as held her through the opulent suite to the master bathroom. The bathroom was larger than Maria's entire kitchen at home, with marble surfaces and gold-plated fixtures that gleamed under soft recessed lighting. The Japanese diplomat gestured toward the shower enclosure, explaining that the water pressure had suddenly dropped to a trickle midway through his shower preparation. Maria set to work with practiced efficiency, checking the shower head for blockages before examining the water control panel. Years of troubleshooting these issues had taught her that most problems were simpler than they initially appeared. "It looks like one of the water valves is partially closed," she explained after a few minutes of investigation. "This happens sometimes when the maintenance team works on the plumbing system." She reached behind the control panel, accessing a small service area hidden from view, and carefully adjusted the "Please try it now, sir." The diplomat turned the shower knob. Water rushed out with perfect pressure. His face relaxed into a smile. "Excellent. Thank you very much. Do you need anything else while I'm here, sir? Extra towels or toiletries?" "No, this is fine. Thank you." Maria nodded, packed up her tools, and slipped out of the suite. A glance at her watch made her wince. 2 hours past the end of her shift. Anna would be wondering. She hurried to the locker room, changed into jeans and a navy sweater that covered the morning's coffee stain, then clocked out. The November chill hit hard as she left through the side door. She pulled her thin jacket close. A real winter coat would have to wait. Anna's spring textbooks had already drained their budget. At the crowded bus stop, Maria squeezed onto a bench beside an older woman with grocery bags. The 38 Geary was late again, according to the transit app. She texted Anna, "Bus delayed. Home in 45. Leftovers in the fridge, please heat some for us." Seconds later came the reply, "Okay, Mom. BTW, I got an A on my biology midterm." Maria smiled, the first genuine one all day. Anna was thriving at City College, nearly a perfect GPA while juggling a part-time job. With luck, scholarships would send her to Berkeley or even Stanford next fall. The bus finally came, jammed with commuters. Maria squeezed inside, clutching a pole near the rear door. As it lurched forward, her mind wandered back to the strange encounter with Elon Musk. "What languages do you speak?" His words echoed, his calculating eyes unsettling her. Maybe it meant nothing. Wealthy guests often acted oddly with service staff, treating them like curiosities instead of people. By the time she reached her stop in the outer Richmond, she had shoved the thought aside. The walk home was short, but her legs ached on the stairs to the second-floor apartment. Inside, the warm smell of reheated chicken greeted her. "Mom, you're finally home," Anna called from the kitchen. At 19, Anna looked just like Maria once had. Dark, expressive eyes, the same determined jaw. But where Maria's face had been carved by hardship, Anna's still glowed with youth and possibility. "Sorry I'm late, mija. Crazy day." Maria hung her jacket and kicked off her shoes with relief. "Now tell me about this biology midterm." Over dinner, Anna animatedly described the exam and how her study group had helped her solve the toughest questions. Maria listened, exhaustion pushed aside by pride. "Professor Lee suggested I apply for the summer research program," Anna added, eyes shining. "It'll look amazing on my transfer applications." "That's wonderful. Is there a cost?" Maria asked, already bracing. "Well, it's unpaid. I'd need to cut hours at the cafe. And there's a program fee. $120. Maria forced a confident nod. "We'll figure it out. Your education comes first." Later, while Anna studied in her room, Maria sat at the kitchen table with her laptop. She combed through the budget for the 1,000th time. If she picked up holiday shifts and maybe found weekend cleaning work, they could cover the fee. It would mean 7 days of work for months. But she'd done it before. Her phone buzzed. A text from Claudia, her friend at the hotel. "Did you hear? Schedule changes. Meeting tomorrow 8 a.m., Maria groaned. New schedules usually meant more work for the same pay. She replied, "Thanks. See you there." Tea in hand, she collapsed onto the lumpy pull-out couch that doubled as her bed. Anna had the single bedroom. Maria insisted years ago that a growing girl needed space. She tried to relax, but her mind circled back. The broken vase, the diplomat's complaints, and above all, Elon Musk's question. What languages do you speak? Why would he care? Her thoughts drifted further to Montreal, where she had once been a different woman, ambitious, finishing her MBA at McGill. Then came Robert. Their whirlwind romance, marriage, and move to California. And then, the shattering diagnosis. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. 6 months later, he was gone, leaving her with debt and a little girl who asked every night why Daddy wasn't coming home. Maria had abandoned her degree, taken whatever jobs she could. Housekeeping at the Four Seasons was supposed to be temporary, but temporary had stretched into years. It wasn't the career she once dreamed of, but it gave Anna security and hope. She finished her tea and unfolded the couch bed, her body aching. Sleep came in fragments, broken by anxious dreams. The alarm blared too soon. She rose in the dark, careful not to wake Anna, left her breakfast note, and headed into the icy pre-dawn. By 7:25, she was back at the hotel, slipping into the staff break room where colleagues whispered nervously. "Morning, Maria," Claudia greeted, moving over for her. At 8 sharp, HR and management filed in. "Good morning, everyone," said Mr. Reynolds, all smooth hospitality. "We have important updates." For 20 minutes, he outlined the new elevated guest experience. More documentation, more personalized service, more work. No mention of extra pay. Maria stayed composed, jotting careful notes. Complaints changed nothing. As the meeting ended, Mrs. Chen, head of housekeeping, approached her. "Maria, can you stay a moment? There's something else we need to discuss." A chill of worry ran through her. The vase, the diplomat, the shower delay. Once the room emptied, Mrs. Chen gestured to a chair. "This isn't about anything negative," she said, as if reading Maria's fears. "It's something else." "Actually, we've had a special request," Mrs. Chen said. Mr. Reynolds nodded. "The Ritz-Carlton is hosting a diplomatic delegation from Quebec next week. Their usual translator had a family emergency, and they need someone fluent in Quebec French who also understands hospitality protocols. Our regional manager remembered that you're from Montreal. They're willing to pay a premium to borrow you for 3 days," Mrs. Chen added. "It would mean adjusting your schedule, but the compensation is substantial." Maria's eyebrows rose. "Me, but I'm not a professional translator." "They know that," Reynolds explained. "But they want someone who understands both the nuances of Quebec French and the expectations of high-level service. You're uniquely qualified." Maria thought about it. Extra money would cover Anna's research program fee, and the change of pace might be refreshing. "Still," she asked, "would I need to make up my regular hours, or would this replace them?" "This would replace them," Mrs. Chen assured her. "You'd receive your normal 4 seasons pay plus the translation fee. It's essentially a paid upgrade." Maria smiled. "In that case, yes, I'd be happy to help." "Excellent," Reynolds said. "The Ritz HR department will contact you directly." Then, with curious emphasis, he added, "Your language skills are proving quite valuable, Maria." The comment struck her as odd, but she nodded politely. As she left the meeting, excitement and nervousness mingled in her chest. It had been years since she'd used her French professionally, but perhaps this was her chance to be seen as more than just a housekeeper. By mid-afternoon, she received an email from the Ritz with details. The pay was even better than promised, nearly double her weekly wages. Relief washed over her. Anna's program fee would be covered, with enough left for the winter coat Maria had been postponing. For once their budget would breathe. Her phone rang. The front desk. "Maria, are you still on the 11th floor?" "Yes, just finishing up room 1146. "Perfect. We need housekeeping in 1142, Mr. Musk's suite." "Coffee spill." "You're the closest," Maria's heart skipped at the name. "I'll go right away." She knocked, and a young woman in business attire opened the door. "Thank you for coming so quickly," the assistant said, ushering her inside. The suite was expansive, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Multiple laptops covered a sleek desk. Elon Musk stood nearby, speaking rapidly into a headset. Maria worked quickly, applying stain remover to the beige carpet and blotting carefully. "No, that timeline won't work," Musk said into the headset. "We need to accelerate the Montreal facility if we're going to hit production targets." Maria focused on the carpet, determined not to eavesdrop. "The Quebec officials want someone who understands their cultural context, not just a translator," he continued. Pacing. By the time Maria finished, the stain was gone. "The carpet may remain damp for half an hour, but it will dry clear," she told him. For a moment, he didn't respond. Then he looked up, eyes sharp. "You're from Montreal?" Maria blinked. "Yes, sir. I grew up there." "And fluent in Quebec French, not just Parisian?" "Yes, Quebec French was my first language." He nodded slowly, as if confirming a theory. "Interesting coincidence." Then he returned to his laptop, effectively dismissing her. Maria gathered her supplies, unsettled. How had he known she was from Montreal? Why did it matter? The next morning, Diane from HR summoned her. Maria braced for bad news, but instead Diane said, "Mr. Musk has requested you as his dedicated housekeeper for the remainder of his stay." He was very insistent. Maria was stunned. "Me specifically?" "Yes. He said he appreciated your work yesterday and prefers consistency." It's unusual, but given his status. Later in the manager's office, Musk himself was waiting. He looked up from his phone. "I overheard you speaking French yesterday. Your accent is native. Where are you from originally?" "Montreal," Maria answered carefully. "I moved here 15 years ago." "I'm expanding Tesla's operations in Quebec," he said. "We're building a new battery facility near Montreal. I need someone who understands both the culture and the business environment. Someone who can translate not just words but context." Maria stared. "I'm just a housekeeper. What did you do before this?" The question hit hard. She swallowed. "I was finishing my MBA at McGill when my husband got sick. Cancer. After he died, I had a 5-year-old daughter and crushing debt. I never finished my degree." For the first time, Musk's expression softened. My assistant looked into your background. You were top of your class. Your professors still remember you. Maria flushed, stunned. 15 years of invisibility, erased in a single evening. I'm offering you a 6-month contract as a cultural liaison for our Montreal project. Musk continued. Starting salary $120,000 with housing provided. Potential for permanent placement after. Maria gripped the edge of the desk, dizzy. But my daughter, bring her. Montreal has excellent universities. He checked his watch. You have until tomorrow to decide. That evening, Maria showed Anna the formal offer email. Mom, this is incredible, Anna exclaimed. Can we really go back to Montreal? Maria looked around their small apartment. 15 years of struggle, of being invisible. What do we have to lose? She whispered, hope stirring in her chest for the first time in years. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Fortune favors the bold. I'm betting on you. Maria took a deep breath and typed her reply. I accept. Sometimes the biggest opportunities come disguised as impossible choices. And sometimes being seen at the right moment by the right person changes everything. $120.